Yo, what's good with y'all? Hope y'all doing well. In this video, I'm gonna show y'all how to make a beat for 21 Savage similar to Metro Boomin like he did on Without Warning in Savage Mode 2. And before we hop into the cookup, I want to let y'all know that all my loops from 2022 are out right now, so I'll leave a link to that in the description if you're interested. And with all that being said, let's just jump right into the beat. Alright, so jumping into the project file here, the first thing I want to cover is the tempo. I chose a tempo of 155 beats per minute. I think anything from like 140 to about 160 usually works for something like this. So for my first sound, I went to Analog Lab and I got this pad from this Marco Lens bank. So I just penciled in this first pattern right here. I didn't end up using the second half, even though it's just this first bit, but an octave up. So the basis for this melody is down in the root notes here. So the key for this beat is in C minor. And so I started with the root note of C2 here, and then I just copied it up to C3. Once I had these root notes, I put them up a couple octaves up here to C5 and C6. And for the most part, I'm only really using like 4 or 5 notes. And then if you pull in the minor scale, you can go up here to stamp, go to minor natural or Aeolian, and then you could just pop in the minor scale right here. We're starting at this top C here, so it's just the bottom note an octave up. And then from this top note, we go down to here. Then we're using the 5th note in the scale, which is G. And then at the end, we work our way back up to G using the 2nd and 3rd note in the scale, D and D sharp. I pretty much have the same thing copied over, so I just selected all this, hold shift and click, and then I can drag it over here. And the only main difference here is that this G is down 1 octave. So once I had all of this right here, I just duplicated it over for the next 4 measures and then kept the same thing with the bass notes. So for effects on it, I started with this EQ with a low cut and then a couple dips in the low mids here to cut out some of the muddiness, and then another dip here in the higher mids. And then I added Shaperbox 2 on the multi-phaser preset, and then I just set the master mix to 19%. And then I went to RC20 and just put on the Vinyl 1 preset, but I only ended up keeping the distortion just so I could make the sound a little louder. And then lastly, I put on Frequency Splitter and I raised the mids a little bit just so that the actual melody sound is better heard in the final mix. So after that first melody sound, I went and got this one shot. So originally this is what it sounds like. I went to the sound settings here and then I hit reverse, and it says this is in the key of E and I wanted to make it into the key of C minor. So what I ended up doing is I pitched it down by 400 cents. So if you're just counting down the scales, you go to D sharp, D, so on, all the way down to C minor. And looking here, it doesn't quite fit into 2 measures. So what I ended up doing is I just went to this time knob here. I just moved it until it fit onto 2 measures exactly. For the final touch, I went to the range here on the pitch, put it up to 12, and then put it all the way to the right. So I'm effectively just moving it up by 1 octave. And then I just duplicated it over a few times so that it fills out the full 8 measure pattern. After that, I got this bell one shot. With this, I just put in a bell counter melody to kind of go along with what we already have. And similar to the first pattern, the only notes that I'm using are the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th notes in the scale. And for the bells, the only effect that I have on it is some RC20 on the Lush and Crunch Guitar 2 preset, and I only left on the wobble and the space. And then for my last melody sound, I went into Omnisphere and got the Growler Moog bass preset. And similar to the first melody, I'm just using that 1 root note of C and just dragging it out for the full 8 measures. So putting it all together, this is what the final sample sounds like. So for my first drum sound, I have this perk snare. This pretty much just takes the place of the clap or snare in a normal beat. As you can see, it uses the typical trap pattern of 3rd beat of every measure. And then on the 2nd and 6th measures, I kind of just have this lead up one on the 1.5 beat. After the first perk, I put in this open hat. With this one, I was just kind of putting in a pattern just where I saw fit with the bounce. After putting in the perk snare and the open hat, I put in my hi-hat. And with this, I just put in a 2-step pattern, and I just threw in this triplet at the beginning of the 1st and 5th measures. And then I just have these rolls down here. I believe all of these are using the 1/3 step snap to grid. After adding the hi-hats, I put in my 808. And as you can probably tell, that's not tuned to C. So what I ended up doing to fix that is I went here, right clicked on it, and then hit edit in audio editor. Once I was in here, I went to this region section and then went to detect pitch regions. And then this is an F sharp. So what I ended up doing is I went to the sound here and then went to this keyboard and then right clicked on the F sharp key. Similar to most of the other sections of the beat, the 808 is also pretty simple. And to finally round out the rest of the beat, I put in the kick. And all this really does is just layer with some of the 808 notes to make it hit harder. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. Thank you for sticking all the way to the end. If you want to leave me any video recommendations, I have a link in the description for a Google form where you can leave me some. And that's all I got for this one, so I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Roll up, Tez.